Hello friends, I hope you all are doing well and staying safe at your own place. I, CA Pujan Kapadia, welcome you all on my today's lecture on the subject Advanced Accounting and Auditing Paper 5. Friends, as you all are very well aware, we are going to start with a fresh topic from today. The name of the topic that we are going to study is Types or Classification of Audit. Till now, we have basically covered two different chapters, under which in the first one, we had taken a deep overview on what is audit, introduction and scope of audit, advantages and limitations of audit. Then after in the second unit, that is second chapter, we have taken due care on the objectives of audit, like what are the main objectives, what are the subsidiary objectives and what are the other objectives, under which we have studied in detail different types of errors and three types of fraud, that was embezzlement of cash, misappropriation of goods and manipulation of accounts. Today we are going to start with a new topic. It is classification of audit. Now friends, as you are well aware, classification can be done on various viewpoints. So basically in this particular chapter, we are going to study this classification of audit from different aspects. So without wasting any kind, I would like to start with the first category. It is based on forms of organization vis-a-vis legal viewpoint. So someone says, if you want to classify the audit on the basis of forms of organization, like it is different for partnership, it is different from joint stock company, it is different from bank, fine. So on the basis of the form of organization, your audit can be classified, or from the viewpoint of legal viewpoint, like whether it is compulsory, required by law, that is it is legally required, or it is voluntarily, that is it is not compulsory, but you are getting your books audited just by or your own will, that is voluntarily. In short, what we are supposed to study over here is two different types, that is compulsory audit under any law, that is under any act, or voluntary audit, that is based on the forms of organization. So let's take a quick overview what is written over here. The first category, that is category A, that is audit required by law. That is, you need to conduct the audit of the books of accounts under any law which is being enforced in India. So we can name this particular category as compulsory audit, which means it is compulsory that you need to get your books of accounts audited. So let's study the name of the audit and under which act such audit is compulsory. First I have taken is company audit. Company audit is compulsory under Companies Act 2013. So if you are a company, then it is compulsory for you to conduct the audit of your books of account under Companies Act 2013. Second is bank audit. It is basically governed by Banking Regulation Act 1949. It is Banking Regulation Act 1949. Third is audit of electricity company. It is basically covered and it is done under Electricity Supply Act 1948. So electricity company audit, see, electricity companies are also companies basically. So they are governed by Companies Act 2013, but the main direct ruling power lies under the law of Electricity Supply Act 1948. As a result of which, when it comes for electricity company, you need to specifically remember this particular act. Next is audit of cooperative societies. It is covered under Cooperative Societies Act 1912. Next is audit of trust. I hope you are aware, like private trust, public trust, fine. So there is a trust deed, which is a governing document. If it is stated in that particular trust deed that you need to conduct the audit, and it becomes inevitable for your trust to get its account audited. And it is governed by the Indian Trust Act 1882. Next comes insurance audit. It is governed by Insurance Act 1938. It is Insurance Act 1938, and additionally the provisions of IRDA, that is Insurance Regulatory Development Authority, are also being implemented on this particular kind of audit. So basically friends, there are further more in this category, but in this particular slide I have mentioned 6 different types of audit. What you guys need to do is you just need to remember that which audit is being governed under which act. So we are going to try to remember each and every act, especially along with years if possible, so that if any short question comes up, you can easily answer that particular part. Fine. So this is a basic outline, that is type of audit against the law under which that audit is to be conducted. Seventh is income tax audit. We are going to have a specific chapter, I guess, in this particular topic, but as of now we are supposed to learn one particular provision which is there in the Income Tax Act 1961. We are going to study section 44AB. Just remember the section, friends. It is section 44AB. What is written in this section? If you are running a business and if your turnover, that is your sales, exceeds rupees 1 crore rupees, it is compulsory that you need to get your books of account audited. So what is the limit which is stated in Income Tax Act? It is 1 crore if you are doing the business. However, there is one presumptive section, that is section 44AD. We are not going in detail basically like what is this section. You can just remember like this, that there is one system or there is one provision under it there are ease provisions, that is you are not supposed to require full books of accounts. So that section is 44AD. Now if you are filing your income tax return and you are governed by 44AD, then the limit is 2 crore rupees. So for income tax audit, which is governed by Income Tax Act 1961, the limit for business is 1 crore. However, if you are under 44AD, then the limit is 2 crores. That below to up to 2 crore rupees, you are not required to get your books of accounts audited only if you are filing your return under section 44AD. So as of now, we are supposed to remember both the things, but more stress is to be laid on if I'm running a business, the limit for getting my books of account audited is 1 crore. That is, if I'm having turnover exceeding 1 crore, it is compulsory that I need to get my books of accounts audited under Income Tax Act 1961. And if I'm doing any profession, like if I'm a doctor, if I'm a chartered accountant, and I'm having my gross receipts, that is total income, fine, total sales revenue, exceeds rupees 50 lakh rupees, then in this particular case, it is compulsory I need to get my books of account audited. So in crux, we can remember section 44AB of Income Tax Act 1961. If business, limit is 1 crore. If profession, limit is 50 lakhs. If my turnover or gross receipts exceeds this amount, I need to get my books of account audited. Next is audit of registered clubs or registered societies. It is governed by Societies Registration Act 1960. And last is audit of government departments or government public utilities, and it is governed by Constitution of India. So basically, friends, generally a question can be asked from this particular topic, which is less likely to come basically, to be very honest. But friends, you need to remember one thing, that under which act that particular audit is being covered. So this is more of a learning part than an understanding part. Only provision you need to focus very well is this one, that is point number 7, income tax audit, section 44AB. For business, the limit is 1 crore. If you are going for 44AD, then the limit is 2 crores. And if you are going for profession, the amount is 50 lakh rupees. I hope I'm clear with this. Fine. I'm just giving you a moment. Quickly go through the names of the act and the type of the audit on this particular slide. Well, take a quick view on point number 7, 8, and 9, friends. Okay, friends. So basically, this 9 points were the compulsory type of audit. That is, it was required under law. The names of the laws or the names of the act we have already studied. Now let's take a look at the second category, that is B, audit not covered by any law, which is voluntary audit. That it is not compulsory you needs to get your books of accounts audited. It is totally optional. It is voluntary. First is, if I am a sole proprietorship concern, that is I am a single owner, I am running a business who is having a single owner, then it is totally open up to the decision of that particular owner whether he wants to get his books of account audited or not. There is no compulsion under any law. But again, if he is running a business and his turnover is more than 1 crore, and if he is not going for 44AD, it becomes necessary to conduct audit under Income Tax Act. As a result of which, we are supposed to understand in a manner that if I am not falling under any of these 9 categories which are stated above, then I am going to look at point number B, that is category B. Fine. So first was individual sole proprietorship concern. Second is partnership forms. I hope you all are aware and you have studied very well this topic. It is governed by Partnership Act 1932. Again, if partners collectively feel that they require their books of accounts to get audited, then they are supposed to get it audited. Otherwise, it is not compulsory. Third is HUF. I hope you are aware about this structure. Karta, the male member who is eldest one in the family, is known as Karta. Again, HUF books of accounts are not compulsory to get been audited. It is totally voluntarily at the option of the family and specifically at the option of the Karta. Fourth is association of persons. If you can recall this particular topic, then I would like to connect it with your taxation first chapter that we have studied in Tybcom, basic introduction. We have studied the answer of classification of persons, under which I have explained you this topic. Association of persons are basically something which is formed voluntarily. That is, there is no law governing this particular formation. Second, it is formed to promote a specific purpose, specific objective. Like for example, I want to facilitate trade and commerce in my city, as a result of which we have Chamber of Commerce. Any person can be its member. In short, such organization is known as association of person, and again, the books of accounts are totally required to be audited at the willingness of the members. So again, it is not compulsory. And last is non-profit seeking organizations, that the organization whose motive is not earning profit. So we can say certain charitable organizations and institutions, right? So this all are the forms of business where on which there is no requirement of compulsory audit. They can get their books of accounts audited, but it is totally voluntary up to their own selves. So we need to remember over here, the first 9 points that we have studied are mandatory required to be audited as per the law. We have studied the name of the X, but the second category, that is category B, all the 5 forms of organization, there is no compulsion to get their books of accounts audited. It is totally voluntarily up to the decision of the respective owner or the respective members of that particular organization. I hope I am clear with the first classification, which was on the basis of forms of organization or from the legal viewpoint, that is whether it is legally compulsory or voluntarily. Fine, friends? Okay. Let's move to the next category. It is on the basis of time. So now we are going to classify audit based on time. The first is interim audit. Let's see the meaning. Audit conducted between 2 periodical audits for some interim purpose like declaring interim dividend, etc. What is written over here? Whenever I am conducting audit between 2 periodical units. Basically, what is periodical audits? Generally, the audit is conducted after the end of financial year. That is what we have studied in the introductory chapter, right? So whenever I am going to conduct audit of the organization between 2 periodical audits, like for example, after year ended 2019, I have get my books of account audited. Again, I am going to audit the same after the end of year 2020. Now, if between 2019 and 2020, I am conducting audit, then such audit will be termed as interim audit. I hope you are getting this particular point. Yes. So whenever we are getting the books of accounts audited between 2 periodical audits, then such kind of audit is known as interim audit. Now, why do we conduct interim audit? So the main direct answer to this is to facilitate any of our interim purpose. Like for example, I am listed on the stock exchange and I need to submit my financials which are audited to SEBI. Fine. So what I'm supposed to do is I am required to get my accounts audited on a quarter basis, that is 3-month basis. Now there is a purpose of submission of audited financial statements to SEBI, as a result of which I need to get my account audited. Similarly, if I want to declare interim dividend, I hope you are aware like what is interim dividend. Whenever a general dividend is paid after the end of year, it is known as final dividend. But when the dividend is paid between the years, fine, that is when a year is going on and the company declares dividend, such dividend is known as interim dividend. Now if I want to declare this dividend, I should have my audited books of accounts as on that particular date. So again, there was an interim purpose to declare the dividend, as a result of which I got my books of accounts audited. So there can be any particular purpose, fine, which is genuine well, for which you require to audit the books of accounts between two periodical audits, that is within the period of your running year, that is between two financial dates, as a result of which such audit is known as interim audit. Now let's see what are the advantages of this. First is it saves time during the final audit. It is but natural. For example, I'm going to audit for the year 2019-20 as a final audit. But if I've already conducted the audit of first 6 months, when I'm going to conduct the final audit, my work is going to be saved. My time is going to be saved. Why? Because I need to now check only for remaining 6 months, because I've already audited the first 6 months. As a result of which, time of the auditor can be saved at the time of final audit. Second is decision for interim dividend. When a company wants to pay interim dividend, but it is not sure whether they are having sufficient funds on hand or not. So what they will like to do is they will declare or order the interim audit, and they will get their financials audited up to a certain period. For example, I want to give dividend to my shareholders in July 2020. Fine. So what I'll do is at the completion of this particular month, that is July 2020, I'll get my books of accounts audited for 4 months, that is April, May, June and July, so that I can come to know whether I'm in a position to give dividend or not. So basically the decision of giving interim dividend is become easier by interim audit. Third is moral check on employees due to frequent visits of auditor. Generally, what is the scenario? Auditor comes after the financial year's end, as a result of which he is visiting only once a year. But now, if I am getting my books of accounts audited for interim audit, he is going to come in between also. That is when the year is going on, he is going to frequently visit my business place. So all the employees will be cautioned. They will be doing their work in a more efficient manner, with a fear that if they are doing anything wrong, then it can be easily traced out by the auditor. As a result of which we can implant moral check on employees. Next is it is useful during certain particular events, like when I want to sell my business. For example, now in this pandemic situation, I feel that it is not possible to run business effectively and I am incurring continuous loss. So I've taken a decision that I want to sell my business in July 2020 itself. Now, if I have not done my books of accounts audited, I won't be able to get the perfect idea like what is the actual position of my business as on July 2020, because my last balance sheet would be of 31st March 2020. As a result of which, if I get my books of accounts audited for interim period, that is for this 4 months also, I can get the exact idea at the time of selling my business. Fine. So in this particular case also, interim audit helps you out. Same case is with the settlement at the time of admission or retirement of the partner. On that particular date of admission or retirement, up to that particular date, you can get your books of accounts audited. Early detection of errors and frauds. Generally, if I am auditing my books of accounts once in a year, then I can find out certain errors and frauds. But when at the end of the year, but if I'm performing interim audit, then I can detect the same fraud or error at the time when I'm performing my interim audit. That is, I did not need to wait for the year ending. I can easily trace out during the year only. Fine. So it becomes possible to detect the frauds and errors at an earlier time. I hope I'm clear with this. Okay, fine. Next is limitations. What are the limitations of interim audit? First is alteration in accounts that are already audited at the end of the year. Now, what is the point over here is, if suppose I want to get my books of account audited to declare interim dividend, fine. In our example, I am auditing for first 4 months, that is April, May, June and July 2020. Then, so what I have done is I have prepared an audit report. I have audited all the transactions for this 4 months. Now, when I'm going to come after 31st March 2021 to conduct my full audit. Now, in this particular case, what will happen is I know that I have already audited my 4 months period. Fine. So when I'm going to conduct the audit, I'm not again going to redo all the audit for this 4 months. I'm just going to continue from where I have stopped, and I'm going to start with the August month. As a result of which, employees or accountants may alter the accounts of these 4 months. Why? Because they know that auditor is not going to recheck all of this again because he has already audited this. So alteration or manipulation may take place in accounts, as a result of it, this is one of the serious caution. Hence, it is a limitation of interim audit. So it is always advisable whenever you are doing interim audit, before starting from the period from where you have stopped, just take a quick overview on all the points on all the months that you have already audited. Second is additional workload on auditor. It is but natural. Auditor was conducting audit for the entire year. वो तो वो कर ही रहा है, but additionally he need to audit for a specific period also. So at the end of the day, it is going to increase the overall workload of the auditor. Third is inconvenience in routine business. Fine. Whenever I'm going to audit in the mid period, fine. So when the normal transactions are also going on, so accountant is focusing on that regular transaction, it is regular record keeping. But additionally, auditor is also present at the premises, so he need to facilitate auditor also. As a result of which, the routine business gets suffered. The daily accounting and record keeping gets suffered. Why? Because at the same time, he is dealing with two periods. One is the actual present and one is the past that the auditor is auditing. So it becomes inconvenient in the routine business. And fourth is comparatively, it is going to be costlier. Of course, if the auditor is going to work more for you, you need to pay more to him. As a result of which, your overall expenses on the audit is going to increase. I hope I am clear with this particular slide. I would just like you to request to take a quick overview on all the points which are stated in the point of interim audit. Well, I hope you are clear with what is interim audit. The only point you need to remember is the first four words that I have highlighted in the meaning. When an audit is conducted between two periodical audits, that is, you can easily understand in this manner that I am going to conduct audit, that is, my year is ending of 2019 on 31st March 2019 and of 2020 on 31st March 2020. If any audit is conducted between this period, it is going to be termed as interim audit. Next point is, that is the second category on the based of time, annual or final or periodic or balance sheet audit. See, there are four names of this particular type of audit. What are those four names? It can be termed as annual audit or final audit or periodic audit or balance sheet audit. Now, what is this? Let's understand by these 3 points which are written over here. First is, it is commenced after the end of financial year. That is, as soon as my year is ending, I am going to start with the work of audit after the end. So for example, if I am going to audit for financial year 2019-20, I am going to start my audit work from 31st March 2020. So this begins after the end of financial year. Second point is, it is carried on until completed, that is in a continuous sitting. So it is not like that I'm going to visit every month or every week. No, once I'm going to start with the audit, I'm going to complete this particular audit in one go. So basically such audits are conducted in a single sitting or a continuous sitting. And third is, it is conducted only once in a year. So if these are the characteristics of the audit, which is general in the practical scenario, generally जो सारे audits होते हैं वो ऐसे ही होते हैं. So in this particular case, such audits are known as annual audit, final audit, periodic audit or balance sheet audit. So now you can relate how these two types are classified. One is after the end of financial year, and the second that we have already studied, interim audit. It was between two financial years, that is within the year when the year was going on. So it was known as interim. Interim means within, between the particular year. I hope I am clear with the 2 points. Fine. Let's see now what are the advantages. First is there is no inconvenience to the routine business. Why? Because after the year is getting over, I am starting my audit work. So there is no inconvenience to my present routine business. Second is less danger of manipulation of figures in accounts, because I am going to start with 1st April and I am going to continue till 31st March in one sitting only. So the chances that employees or accountants may manipulate or make certain alterations in accounts is comparatively less. So this danger of manipulation of accounts is comparatively lesser. Third is proper link is maintained since the work is done in continuous sitting. Interim audit में क्या हो रहा था? I was conducting audit for the first 4 months, then I am going to come after the year ends. So the link that I have already set by auditing the 4 months is again going to lapse, and I need to start from zero for the remaining 8 months. What is going to be the case over here? I am going to complete my entire audit assignment in a continuous sitting. As a result of which, once I'm into it, I'm totally into it. So it becomes easier and a proper link is maintained to complete my entire work. And fourth is, of course, it is less expensive since you are coming only for once and getting the work done in that particular period of 10 days or 15 days, whatsoever you may take, but only in a continuous setting. So you are not visiting the client business at frequent intervals, as a result of which the cost, the expense of audit is comparatively less. Now let's check what are the limitations. Detailed checking of accounts is not possible, of course, because I have a target, a deadline to submit the audit report also, as a result of which I cannot go in detail to check each and every transaction. What I'm going to do is, practically what happens is, we do sampling. Fine. I identify certain important transactions, high value transactions, and lay my focus, lay my stress on those particular transactions only. As a result of which, I'm not going on detailed checking of each and every transaction. Second is, it is difficult to locate cleverly committed frauds and errors. When an accountant or any employee or the management lays down any fraud which is planned in detail, which is cleverly put into the accounts, it becomes comparatively much more difficult to identify that. Because why? I am basically going to do my work on a test basis, on a sample basis. Fine. So I may skip certain items which I feel is not important, but there are chances that fraud may be there in that particular item only, which I have skipped. As a result of which, it is comparatively difficult to locate the frauds or errors which are cleverly laid down. Why? Because I am auditing only once in a year. If I'm a frequent visitor, if I'm auditing the books of accounts like on a monthly basis or on a fortnightly basis, I am checking the transaction of 15 days or 30 days. So I am focusing only on a limited days, as a result of which I am going to check each and everything in detail. So in that particular scenario, cleverly laid down frauds may be easily detected. But in this particular case, since it is being done only once in a year, it is difficult to identify the same. Next is delays presentation of final accounts and payments of dividend. It is but natural. I am starting my audit work after the financial year ends. As a result of which, once I am going to complete with my audit, then I am going to prepare the final audited financial accounts, and then on that basis of my audit report, board of directors or the shareholders are going to discuss or decide about the dividend. As a result of which, this entire process is going to be delayed. Why? Because you are actually starting your work after the year is ending. If I talk about interim audit, I was doing my work at intervals, for example, on a quarterly basis. So my data for the last 9 months was already completed. So now after the year ends, I just need to focus on the last quarter, that is January, February and March. So I can complete that work quickly. I can prepare my final accounts and declare dividend on a quicker basis. But in this particular case, since it is commencing for the entire year after the completion of balance sheet date or accounting year, there is a delay in preparation of final accounts and payment of dividend. Fourth is moral check on employees is not maintained. Employees very well know auditor एक ही बार आने वाला है. As a result of which, they do their work lazily, they may do their work carelessly. What they will do is, they won't focus for initial 9 months, 10 months, and they will focus on the last 2 months, because उनको पता है auditor is going to come after 31st March. So they will do their work and do all the adjustments at the end, so that their inefficiency may not be revealed to the auditor. So there may be the chances they are not working at all for the first 10 months, and they may work only for last 2 months and settle everything. So moral check on employees is quite difficult to maintain in this particular type of audit. And last is, it is not suitable for big businesses. If there is a big business, like take any multinational company, now they are having voluminous transactions. You cannot imagine the number of transactions they are entering into a day. Fine. So it is not possible to audit the entire business after the end of financial year. As a result of which, it becomes necessary to go for interim audit. Why? Because I need to check and audit their accounts on a periodic basis. If I'm going to start for the entire year after the year ending, it may take about 6 months or 1 year to complete the entire audit for me. So audit complete karte karte next year aa jayega. As a result of which, this is not basically suitable for the big businesses. It is advisable for small scale and mid scale businesses. I hope friends you are very well clear with the topic that we have covered today. The first topic that I explained was compulsory audit that is required by any law. Fine, under which you have taken 9 points. I laid down more stress on the seventh one. That is, if you are running a business, your limit is 1 crore. If you are not taking advantage of 44 AD, that is 2 crores. And if you are running a profession, the limit is 50 lakhs. Agar aapka turnover ya gross receipt exceeds this amount, then it is compulsory to get your books of account audited under Income Tax Act 1961. Then voluntary audit, where it is not compulsory, but if you feel that it is necessary, you can get your books of account audited. Second classification was on the based of time, under which we have studied two types. First was interim audit, that is audit been taking place between two final audits. That is, I gave you the example 31st March 2019, 31st March 2020. If any audit is conducted between this period, that is known as interim audit. And second was annual audit, final audit, which starts after the end of financial years in a continuous sitting and is being undertaken only once in a year. I hope friends you are very well clear about the topics that we have covered today. I would like to stop over here for today's lecture and we'll continue from the next category in our next lecture. So I, CA Pujan Kapadia, thank you all for your patient listening and hope to see you soon in my next lecture. Thank you friends.